Sup nerds, Tom here. We're going to talk about Ganymede, originally published by Sorry We Are French, but brought to the US by Lucky Duck Games. So Ganymede is a space game, obviously, but it's kind of like a set collection, almost drafting. Like I say drafting, what you're really doing is you got these tiles that you can, on your turn, you always just like take one thing. So you take a tile that'll allow you to put meeples onto Earth, essentially, and then you can take cards. Once you have the right meeples, like this card wants 2 red meeples, this card wants a blue meeple and a yellow meeple, and once you have those, you can move those from, you can take this card and move those meeples from Earth to Mars, and then when you have the right, sort of collection of meeples on Mars, you can take one of these Mars cards to move them from Mars to one of your 2 ships. Once your ships have what they want, which is either 3 meeples of the same color, or one of each color meeple, they will launch, and that's where you get points. So it's kind of set collection-ish, where you're taking cards and putting meeples there, trying to get the right combination of colors, such that you can take other cards that will allow them to progress down this little assembly line and eventually launch and get you points. And I call it drafting because there is a pool in the middle from which we are all taking. However, since there's so many cards out there, and it's constantly gets refilled, it doesn't feel as much of drafting as much as because a big part of drafting is if I take this, I get it, but I'm also taking it from you. And there is a little bit of that, but there's so many cards and there's such a huge deck and, they keep getting replaced. Like in Elysium, there would be a pool of cards and we can only take 4 every round, so that pool gets smaller and smaller and we're limiting the other players. With this game, that pool is always there and always replaced, so it feels like taking a card in a deck builder. Like if I take this blob card in Star Realms or I take this card in Legendary and you don't get it, that is the amount of drafting and blocking other players that is in this game. I wanted it to be a little bit longer, a little bit more in the, more like Elysium, where there's rounds and these are the cards that are out there and I got to really think about what I'm taking and how it affects you. But the selling point of this game, the idea of this game, is that it's really short. It's really quick and really easy to play. So, while I wanted a meatier game, that's not what this game is trying to do. And I do think this game accomplishes that pretty well. It's a very quick and easy to get game with a lot of good decisions. It could have been a bigger, beefier game if that's what they wanted. But I really felt like that's not what they wanted. They said, well, we want a really quick space game with set collection and a couple of powers to trigger, because there are some cool things, because you can move up this reputation track, I think it's called, and you get extra abilities that way, do actions. If you take tiles of the same color, you'll trigger them multiple times. If you get one of each card, you'll get to launch an extra ship. So, there's a decent amount of choices to think about, but it's a lot more choices of things that you want to do and not so much to block the other players. There isn't a lot of player interaction other than that slight amount of, I'm going to take this so you don't get it, but it is possible that another card similar to that comes up right after. Like I said, the main thing that this game has going for is how quick it is, and also I guess how small it is. This right here is the main, other than the player boards, this is the main player area. I even kind of spread the cards out just so they look better on the table. And I do think the game does a really good job at doing that. If you want to play a really quick but kind of deep thinky game, again, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and that's the longer end. I think with 4 players it was maybe 40 minutes, and we were kind of stopping to eat halfway through. But even though I wanted it to be a little bit meatier and a little bit longer, and actually longer you kind of could do, probably not with 4 players because we were kind of running out of these what do they call them, just the ship cards. The game is over when the first person who launches their 4th card. You could probably say 5th card or 6th card. I haven't tried it, but with a 2 or 3 player game, I don't see why that would be an issue. When it comes to a really quick game like this, I was having fun. I wanted it to be a little bit longer, but still definitely having fun with, the gameplay as is. My only other complaints, I guess, would be the component quality, because I know Lucky Duck is only just bringing it to America. I don't think they're, upgrading it at all. And this is a smaller company, so, it's understandable that the cards are really thin and that, the art, some people would like the art style. And the art style itself it's not my cup of tea per se, but I don't dislike it. I think the art style that I really don't like is really cutesy, chibi, like, Muppet Baby artwork. But I do wish the component quality was a little bit better, and I wish that the cards were a little bit more readable. Like, the tiles are good because it's just the symbols of what the card does on the back of, on just the space background, so mostly just black background. But the cards themselves have this really cool art, but it kind of drowns out all of the other iconography. There's no borders on the card. I feel like it would be better if there was like a delineation between art and text. Like if there was a box of art in the middle or something, then there was the text, a little bit more predominant. Because sometimes I'm kind of glancing out at the table, and it just kind of glosses over. There's a little bit of like, okay, what am I looking at here? I need that. Okay. Also, there are some tiles that are like starter tiles. When you're setting up the game, these tiles aren't the cards are random, but these tiles aren't random. There's supposed to be 4 tiles out there that start, but there's no delineation. It says in the rules which ones are the start tiles, but there's no the back isn't different because it's start. That would be nice. But like I said, I did enjoy this game, and I'd really like to see this game do well, like well enough to maybe warrant a little bit upgraded components on a second printing or maybe a second edition or something like that. I'd like for them to maybe include like a player reference card, because there's some reminding iconography on the board, but it's not great. Like it'll say, it reminds you of the little ship icon, but that doesn't, it reminds you that that's one of the actions you can take, doesn't remind you that, oh, you can take one of these face down or the top one from the deck. Little things like that would have been nice. But I really feel like I'm nitpicking here because I did really enjoy the game. Really light. If that's something you're looking for, a fast, light space game, then I highly recommend you click the purchase link in the description box down below and grab yourself a copy. While you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored. But as far as the gameplay goes, as it is, I did really enjoy it. I feel like it kind of hit the nail right on the head of the hammer. The hammer's on the nail.